Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Tara Talks Books, where we talk everything bookish. So today I'm going to be doing a recommendations video for books with disability rep. It is July and July is Disability Pride Month. I have read quite a few romances that have disability representation, either in their main characters or even in some in their side characters. So I just wanted to put this list together and share it out as my recommendations with books with disability representation. So I'm going to start with like contemporary romances, and I think I have like maybe one fantasy romance and one paranormal romance. So I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to I have some historical romance recommendations that have disability representation in it as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first one I have is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is a recent read for me. And this one, the main character, Ava, does have chronic migraines that at times can be debilitating for her. She is an author and she writes, obviously, books. And then she also has to go to like press junctions and things like that. But this is a romance between her and another author. It's second chance. They met when they're young, and then they are trying to come together when they're older. And so it is their second chance love story. It is a beautiful romance, definitely has some emotional and hard-hitting moments in it as well. It also does have that representation of chronic migraines that is very prevalent in this book. The next one I have is Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. And this one follows Ryder and Willa are actually in a college course together, and she is like a soccer player, so sometimes she's a little bit late or runs like her practices run over, and so her professor tells her to get her notes from Ryder, and they kind of get off on the wrong foot in that instance. She thinks that he's ignoring her and he doesn't understand why she's mad at her. Well, unfortunately, there's obviously a huge misunderstanding. Ryder is actually deaf, and that is where the misunderstanding comes in. So they obviously get off on the wrong foot, and she kind of has to like eat her words in a sense of like, she realizes that he's not really ignoring her, that he is deaf, and so like he did not hear her. And so it goes from there. It can be emotional at times. It is a slow burn romance. It is college. It does have like a little bit of sports because she's in soccer, and soccer is prevalent within this book. So Ryder was not born deaf. There was actually an accident of some sort that led to him becoming deaf, and so he really has to learn how to communicate, how he chooses to communicate with people now that he is no longer hearing. And so he's trying to grapple with that and figure out what is the best method for him. And I really liked that aspect of this book, is that exploration of like, he needed to figure out a way to communicate because he's no longer hearing. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And this is another good one. The next one I have is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. So this is an adorable book. This follows Stella, and Stella has autism, and she is trying to figure out how to navigate a romantic relationship. She's just not sure how, but her mom is like, it's time to get married. You're an adult, you have a job, you should be, finding romance. And so she kind of takes that to heart, and she kind of does it her own way. She's going to hire a male escort to help her learn how to date and how to be a good girlfriend, and it goes from there. This is so sweet. So Michael is the male escort, and they obviously meet through that agency. He meets Stella and he wants to help her, and I really love their relationship. He is such a cinnamon roll hero, and he goes as slow or fast as she wants, and he really gets to know her, and it is a beautiful love story. I really just love this. I love the autism representation in it. I definitely need to read more with autism representation, so if you have any, let me know. The next one I have is Float Plan by Trish Dollar, and this one follows Anna, and her fiance has committed suicide, and so they were supposed to go on a trip together in their sailboat and sail around, and so she decides, well, to help me through this grief, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to go and I'm going to do the trip that we planned. However, she soon realizes that she is not equipped to do it by herself. She just doesn't know enough about sailing. So she enlists Keen, who is like a professional sailor. However, he is dealing with something that happened recently. He had an injury where he had to have his leg amputated. And so he's dealing kind of with that grief and that loss of like who he was. So there is that situation, that representation of an amputee. And I really enjoyed this love story. It is very slow burn. It is an emotional one because of the topics that it deals with. The next one I have is Real by Kennedy Ryan. I love this book. It is amazing. So this one follows Neva and Cannon, and Neva is an actress. She's like an up-and-coming actress, and Cannon is a well-known director. He ends up hiring Neva as an actress on a movie he is directing that is really near and dear to his heart. And he just thinks that she's going to be the perfect character or the perfect representation of the character on screen. So he is really all for it, and he wants her to play that character. So anyways, it goes from there. They are on set. They are doing this beautiful piece together. There is an attraction to each other. There is also representation. Neva is... So Neva has lupus, and there are flare-ups that occur. There are also other things that are very prominent in the book that happen that are related to her lupus. And I really love the caretaking scene in this book. It is so beautiful. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. So if you have not read Real by Kennedy Ryan, please do. So the next one is kind of just a brief mention because it's a side character within this book, but that's The Right Move by Liz Tomforty. And this one obviously is a basketball fake dating romance between Indy and Ryan, and they obviously fall in love. There's their story. However, there is a side plot where Indy's father is deaf, and obviously she uses sign language to communicate with him. So that is within this book, and there is a beautiful scene that occurs that has that representation in it at the very end that I absolutely love. So if you have not read this one, please do. It's a lovely book, and this one, again, it's only that side character where the disability representation is. The next one I have is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And this one follows Violet Sorrengail, and she is kind of always studied to be in the scribe quadrant. However, her mother forces her into the writer's quadrant, where basically it is the Basgiath War College, which is cutthroat and ruthless, and you really just have to survive, and you know, either the course is going to take you out, or somebody's going to try to kill you, or you know, the dragons might. It's very intense, this college, and she goes through it, and it's her story through it, as well as Xaden, who is already in the Basgiath War College. He's already been there for a while, and it's their love story, as well as, you know, just all of what's going on through the school. And anyways, what is represented in here as part of the disability, it never fully states within the book what she has. However, you do know that she has chronic joint pain, and that her like her joints will almost like pop out and then have to be popped back in very easily. It's very painful. And so that is something that is in here. And of course that makes it even harder for her within trying to make it through this cutthroat school. And I love that representation. So definitely check out Fourth Wing. I loved this romantasy book. It was so good. So the next one I have is The Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wales. And this one is like a wolf shifter romance and like fated mates. And the female main character was like young, and she was injured, and so her leg did not develop correctly. So because of this leg injury, she is kind of seen as less than with the pack. However, I love how strong she truly is. and how much the male main character needs to grovel to get her back once she does what she needs to do when he rejects her. I loved it. This was excellent. I did enjoy it. It is like more paranormal romance, and yeah, definitely one to check out. So now we are on to my historical romance recommendations that have disability representation in it. The first one I have is Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. This just follows the Montgomerys and Armstrongs, and the king is kind of sick of their bickering, and he's like, well, you know, the oldest daughter and the oldest son are going to get married, and you guys are gonna, your families are gonna come together, and you're gonna quit the bickering. However, there was an accident with the female main character. What is her name? Eveline. And Eveline is injured, and everybody thinks that they say that they call it touched in the head. They don't know what's wrong with her. Obviously, it's back in the day. They don't know. So they just think that, you know, a brain injury has happened and she's not the same. However, that's not the case. She is actually deaf. And she is kind of using it as a way to get out of another, like, arranged marriage. Her parents wanted her to marry somebody else, and she does not like him. So she does not want to marry him because I believe she's, like, caught him doing something, like, inappropriate, or he's, like come on to her, and she's just like, no. I can't remember the exact situation, but she does not want to marry him. So she ends up marrying Graham, and Graham, like, takes it slow with her because at first he thinks something's wrong with her as well, but he soon realizes that she's quicker than she lets on, and he can see that kind of she's reading lips and she's understanding what people are saying, and he's kind of seeing like, oh, so something's wrong with her, but it isn't to the extent that I thought. And so she's like, well, maybe she can't hear. And so it goes from there. I love this book. It is so cute. I also want to mention that Graham has like a very deep voice. And so like she can hear his vibrations, or she can feel like his vibrations of his voice, which is a big part of like her kind of like trusting him. And like, I can actually like almost like not hear because she is deaf, but like feel that. And I was like, oh, that's lovely. I love that aspect of the book. This is beautiful. Definitely check it out if you haven't. The next one I have is My Darling Duke by Stacy Reid. The male main character is a wheelchair user. He was injured in the war, and he comes back kind of a reclusive duke. So the female main character, Kitty, kind of uses him in a sense. Because he is reclusive, she says, oh, she's engaged to him, thinking he'll never find out because he's reclusive. And it's to help her sisters like make matches, and because they're out in society, and she wants her sisters to make good matches. And so if she says she's married, she's going engaged to a duke, then it's going to help their status. However, he does find out, and it goes from there. I love this one. It is beautiful. It is lovely. Anything Stacy Reid writes, I'm going to read. This was a 5-star for me. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. The next one I have is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. Obviously, this follows Simon and Daphne. This one is like a fake courting relationship. I will say I didn't like this one as much as I did the other two that I've read in this series. I did give it a 3-star. However, it does have the representation of Simon. Simon has a stutter and struggles with, I believe, a speech impediment. It is not specifically said, but based off what I read, it does seem that that's likely what it is. And so he does deal with that. And so that representation is in there. So the last one I have is actually one I'm in the middle of reading, and that one is Hot Earl Summer by Erica Ridley. And this one follows Elizabeth Winchester, and she actually deals with chronic pain and often has to use a cane to aid her. And so it's where like the disability representation comes into play in this book. However, I really just love Elizabeth, her personality. She's very fun and like spunky, and I love it. And so anyways, her family and her actually help like people who need like either getting back or retrieving of something, or to help, you know, solve a case of some sort. So anyways, they get a case, and she has to go to a castle where they think Earl of Densmore is at. However, it doesn't end up being the Earl of Densmore. They're like basically not leaving the castle. It is actually Stephen Lennox, his cousin. And there are people who want the castle. There are actually multiple people who want the castle. One who wants to take it by force. And her client who says she has a right to the castle and she's trying to find the will for her. So anyways, Stephen actually like booby traps the castle because he feels like he is under like a basically attack by these other people that want the castle. And I love that he has like all of these inventions, and they are really, how they meet is so fun and cute. So this one so far has been excellent, but again, I am in the middle of reading it. I'm about, I'd say like 30% through, and I'm enjoying it, but it does have that representation, so I wanted to mention it. So those are all the books that I've read recently that have disability representation in them. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any. If you don't want to feel like commenting anything, go ahead and leave like a sword emoji, because in Hot Earl Summer, our main character is very stabby. She's so fun. Anyway, so leave that if you don't want to comment anything. Like and subscribe if you'd like to. Bye!